बेहद की परम 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 शांति. Today we would be talking about a very hit subject, life after death. Everybody has a curiosity to know what happens to the soul after death. Whether the soul attains salvation, that is moksha, or he has to live his afterlife in the spirit form in wandering for peace or salvation. Many writers and thinkers and sages have discussed about the life after death. There are many books, videos and articles on this topic. In the Wikipedia too, we can find many people who have shared their experiences on the life after death. Bapuji's vision is different and therefore his understanding of life after death is also different. In this video, Anant asked a few pointed questions like, first, what is the purpose of birth of a person? Second, can a soul think after death? Third, what is the experience of a soul after leaving the body? Fourth, where does the soul go and whom does he meet? Fifth, what is the subtle world? Where is it? Sixth, what are the experiences of virtuous and pious and generous souls? Seventh, what are the experiences of yogis and those who connect with God or the Supreme Energy? Previously a video was made on the subject, but there were many topics which had remained untouched. Therefore, Anand prepared 20 questions which he wanted to ask and expected detailed answer about them. Bapuji said that the human body is made up of 5 elements. Beyond our world, there is a world of 3 elements. When a soul leaves the body of 5 elements, it proceeds in 3 elemental body along with the record of karmas, good as well as bad. Soul is immortal and indestructible. The 2 elements of the body, earth and water, is left behind when a soul leaves. The 3 elements, ether, air and fire, are accompanied with the soul. This is called astral body. It is also called subtle body or antarvahak or sukshma sharir. The soul moves up with the baggage of karmas, that is actions and the deeds which a person has committed during his life. These karmas are recorded in the soul and subsequently the subtle body is formed according to the karmas of the person. When the subtle body leaves the body with the 2 elements, that is the earth and water, remains here on the earth as dead body. Even the scientists believe that the human body is made up of 2/3 part of water and 1/3 of the earth element, that is a jar sharir. These elements are heavy and they always hinder the person to realize soul consciousness and get knowledge of the Supreme Soul. He remains entrapped in the world of illusions, worldly pleasures and attachment. After the death, the astral body of a person is built up as per the recordings of his past life actions. When he dies, all his actions are stored in his soul. It is said that Antmato Mati Sugati, that is, the destiny and the speed of the soul depends on the last mental state of a person at the time of his death. The further course of the journey of the soul is decided according to the karmas of the person. Bapuji then discussed why human souls is born. He said that Shiv is the creator of this Brahmand, that is the solar system, who initially created the world of angels. Ignorant people accuse God of creating the painful world. In fact, it is not so. Shiva created Brahmand through Brahma, maintained the world through Vishnu, and Shankar was assigned the task of annihilations. The world created by Brahma was the world of angels. Then angels enlarged their world by the power of thought. Gradually, these angels lost their power and came into the three elemental bodies. They became deities, that is the Devi and Devtas. Deities also created their enormous world by their thought power. Further, their power decreased and they took birth as humans. Human beings are entangled in the cycle of birth and death because of lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. Their vikar, that is vicious feelings, diminish their soul power. All this happens due to the absence of true knowledge of the Supreme Soul. Here the soul becomes tamopradhan, with the dominance of tamas, the dark and the evil emotions. Souls were born from the time of immemorial. Souls were born, not the bodies. At different times, different categories of souls are born. Various souls came into the cycle of birth and death as they were entrapped in the world of Maya, that is the illusion. At the time of the birth of the soul, they were pure and powerful, that is Satopradhan, dominated by virtues and fierceness. Gradually, their power decreased and became Rajopradhan with three elemental bodies. And finally, when they took the birth as a human being, they became Tamopradhan with the five elemental bodies. Souls in the three elemental bodies were deities. They were Rajopradhan when their power decreased. They were born as human beings with the five elemental body. The king of deities, that is Indra, throws them out to take birth as a human beings when deities run out of the power. Thus, birth of human souls is the result of the absence of power in the deities. After being born in a human form, souls remain engrossed in illusion and bodily attachments. They become unaware of the knowledge of the souls. The purpose of human birth is not to enjoy worldly pleasures. In fact, they had already enjoyed life in heaven. From heaven, that is the Swarglok, they came down to Bhuvarlok and then to the earth. But there are many deities who perform austerities and make tapasya on the Bhuvarlok or on the earth to return to the heaven, that is Swarglok. There are also deities who want to go to the higher dimensions. Heaven, that is the Swarglok, is full of Maya, Mahamaya, that is great illusions. the earth has a Maya, that is illusion. Pure and powerful souls in the Swarglok make efforts to reach Mahalok and then try to go to the higher level to Janlok, Taplok, Brahmapuri, Vishnupuri, Shivpuri and finally to the supreme abode, that is Paramdham. Without the knowledge of the soul, the upward journey of the soul is not possible. When a soul comes in a human life, it is very valuable. Even the deities long for human birth. Knowledge gained in human life is not merely for Swarg, that is heaven, but for reaching Paramdham, that is the supreme highest abode. One should have the knowledge to know Shiva, the supreme soul, and also the knowledge of Mahashiva to reach the galaxy. When the soul is filled with the knowledge, it will perform good deeds, that is Satkarma, for the welfare of all. Such souls would certainly go to the higher celestial dimensions. On the other hand, when sinful souls leave their bodies, they carry with them the record of their actions, and their further journey depends upon their good or bad actions. There are automatic supercomputers which contain whole data and the recording of the actions of the soul. Religious souls of the particular religion from the subtle world would come to take the souls that follow that particular religions. Religious gurus and saints of different religions are there in the subtle world. They do not help the sinful souls. When a sinful soul is about to leave the body, souls of his own category surrounds him. Souls usually remain within the range of 200 kilometers, but the sinful souls cannot cross even 20 kilometers. The journey of the soul upward depends on the certain basic principles. Some souls go up to 10, 20 or 50 kilometers. Some may go up to 50 or 100 or more. The range varies on the power of the soul. How does a soul get power? Sinful souls have three elemental bodies in which air element becomes heavy and therefore they remain close to the earth due to the gravitational pull. Such souls are unable to go beyond even 1 kilometer. Air element becomes so dense and heavy that the movement of the subtle body is restricted. When any soul has a negative thoughts, the elements of air, fire and ether in his subtle body becomes heavy. As a heavy, fat body person is unable to walk fast and cover long distance, the soul with the unlimited thoughts becomes heavy and his movement becomes quite restricted. Such souls can go from one home to a temple or from temples to the home. Such souls cannot fly higher and in the end they downgrade themselves. Good souls who have performed good karmas and have positive impact on them. They became light-weighted and go up to the 5 kilometers easily. Then to go beyond it, they have to make great spiritual efforts. A very high quality souls can travel even on the earth, but the sinful souls or the ghost take more time to travel any distance. They do not have power and their subtle bodies are heavy. That is why they usually remain in their homes and mix within their communities. If a soul is a regular drunkard, after death also he would join such groups and quench his thirst of alcohol by entering any of the such persons. In the same way, a soul who has always committed crimes and sinful acts will continue his criminal activities by joining such criminal groups and entering into such sinful persons. Such souls continue to demand wine or cigarette even after death as they live among like-minded communities. There are certain trees to which wine or cigarettes are offered, as their wishes are fulfilled. Souls with such desires are the ghosts, that is pretatmas. They have no power within themselves. So how can they help others? These souls themselves are full of unfulfilled desires. When the desires of such souls are unfulfilled, they try to satisfy themselves by entering into someone else. Bapuji said that he had seen such incident many years ago. A spirit had entered into a Brahmin who demanded non-vegetarian food. The exorcist said that until the man is feed with the non-veg food, the ghost will not leave the body of the Brahmin. So the man was given the non-vegetarian food, and even though he was a Brahmin who never touched a non-veg food, ate it in a large quantity with a great feeling of relish. Bapuji said that in his childhood he had seen many such incidents. He said that the spirits are big liars. They lied all their lives and therefore they continue to lie even after their death. Sinful souls are negative and criminal-minded. They commit sins and crime even after death through such criminal-minded people. People are generally unaware of such things. They do not under the reality. It is believed that ant mati so gati. Therefore, the person who died unnatural death cannot have a power within their souls. Accidents do not happen naturally. There are accident zones. We all know of Bermuda Triangle. There is a hole of a subtle souls, and whosoever comes in this area is devoured by 1,000 subtle souls. Bapuji said that he had seen the area of Bermuda Triangle from 2,000 kilometers above during the meditation. The recent accident of the aeroplanes of Malaysia is also an example of a place where the souls of the subtle world or the aliens take away the people or the objects. They are not lost but taken over by the souls of the subtle world. Thus, there are innumerable mysteries that science cannot explain or understand. In ancient aliens program, they tried to explain things in a scientific and materialistic manner. These explanations are not satisfactory or convincing because one cannot understand or explain spiritual things in a materialistic manner. Anant asked Bapuji what happens to those souls who sacrifice their lives for the service of the nation or laid down their lives for the sake of the nation. Those who serve the nations with the dedications are pure and pious. They are Satopradhan souls and they leave their bodies for a noble cause. They serve the nation even after their death. Defense personnel at the border are not all physical, living soldiers. There are thousands of subtle souls who help and cooperate them. This is true of both sides on the border. In the World Wars First and the Second, millions of people died in the war. Death of a person, whether fighting on the border or in an accident, does not make much difference if the person does not have the knowledge of the Supreme Soul. Without this knowledge, the soul will remain near the earth. Only after getting the knowledge of the Supreme Soul, he can decide where he wants to go after death, whether to Vishnupuri, Shivpuri, or the Paramdham, that is the Supreme Abode. A soul can decide his destination according to the knowledge he possesses. The decision of a soul becomes his goal, and his goal determines his karmas or the actions. In the scriptures, there is a maxim, Ant mati so gati. It means that any soul, whether a soldier or a sinful soul, what is mati, that is thought and the intelligence, were at the time of death determines his further journey and the destiny. Gati means speed as well as destiny. If he thinks, I will do good work so that I can have an access to heaven, he may engage himself in a good actions and prepare his way to go to the heaven. As a student writes during the last minute in the exam but feels that certain important things have been left unwritten, human beings too at the time of death feel that they have not done certain good things that they should have done. They realize that their life was spent in fun and enjoyment. When a soul is young, he is busy in the worldly pleasures, and remembrance of God and spiritual knowledge remain unattended. He thinks that he would do this in an old age, but when the old age comes, body is not able to do all these good things. Body becomes worn out and diseased. Bapuji said that, like academic studies, children should be given spiritual knowledge right from their childhood. This is equally important. Parents should also teach them the true philosophy of karmas from their childhood. And for that, first of all, parents also should have the knowledge of this philosophy. Our education system and the school systems are concerned with the physical world only. They teach them about the material things. Their aim is to become doctors or engineers, but they have no knowledge of the soul or the Supreme Soul. Without spiritual knowledge, no person can be perfect, gentleman or the virtuous man. In ancient Vedic times, this knowledge was given compulsory to every child. Parents were also positive, virtuous, and knowledgeable. In those days, both academics education and the spiritual education went hand in hand. Bapuji said that Narsingh Mehta was a devotee of Lord Krishna. He chanted and remembered Radhe Krishna all the time. He had deep spiritual knowledge, which is reflected in his famous Gujarati songs also. He believed in the incorporeal form of God. Such souls can travel higher. Negative souls who have made others suffer find it difficult to leave their bodies. Prolonged thinking in the end makes them suffer from the paralysis. Bondage of karmas does not liberate the soul, and therefore they cry and weep at the time of death. They ask for forgiveness from everyone. Those who have done good karmas can leave their bodies peacefully. However, the sanchit karmas, that is, the accumulated karmas of the previous birth, can also come in their way. According to Bapuji, souls have existed on the earth for 2 crore years. Since then, the soul has come into the cycle of many births and death. As the soul forgets all the knowledge, negativity increases. Anant asked Bapuji about the role of sages, saints, and gurus in the world. Bapuji said that sages and the saints who we see in this gross world come from the subtle world. They are the Avatari Purush that is the great souls, they incarnate themselves for the welfare of the world. They reside into various layers in the subtle world ranging from 100 to 200 kilometers or even 1000 or lakhs or crores, because the gravity of the sun works up to 75,000 crores kilometer. The total area of subtle world is 1 lakh crore kilometers. Souls from this world come down on the earth to help all the people. Saints and sages also do welfare activities helping the people. Good souls are in the subtle as well as in the causal world. That is the Karan Jagat, which means Vishnu Puri. Most of the religious leaders and the gurus come from the lower layer of the subtle world. Concerned, the souls of many religion or the community assemble around the dying person and takes him back to the religious leaders or the guru whom the person followed when he was alive. There are temples or the ashrams high above. Souls wander from one ashram to another in search of knowledge in the subtle world. Highly knowledgeable saints reside 1 lakh crore kilometers above from there. There are different celestial layers like Mahalok, Janlok, Taplok, etc. If someone reaches Mahalok, he makes the efforts to reach Janlok. Sages of Mahalok give the soul the knowledge for the higher journey. They give guidance and also the power to go higher. When a power enters the soul, the subtle body gets the power, and with a powerful subtle body, the journey becomes faster. So when one becomes soul conscious with the virtues like renunciation, that is tyag, and austerity, that is tapasya, the soul then becomes nirsankalpa, that is the stage of non-thoughts, that is no thoughts. When then the ether element becomes more powerful, and when akash tattvas, that is became more powerful, the soul rises to the higher dimensions. Ether is a quite light weight, so the journey becomes faster. In no thought stage, the soul remembers Ishtdev. One can go directly to Shiv Puri if all the negativity of the soul is dissolved. The soul can travel to the Vaikunt Dham too. To prepare for this journey, one must start working right now on the earth. One must become Karma Yogi, get the knowledge of the Gita and know the Almighty authority. It is said in the Gita that whosoever who attain that, if you remember saints or sages, you join their community in the subtle world. Ancestors lives in the subtle world and sometimes on the moon. Pitru Tarpan is performed for their salvation. Krishna is the incarnation of Almighty authority. If you remember Krishna, you will get to know the Almighty authority. You will know the Supreme Soul, that is the Parampurush, who resides in Shiv Puri. To believe in Krishna does not mean believing in Krishna's idol in the physical form. Both Shiv and Vishnu are known as a Maha Parampurush. They are beyond physical and the corporeal form. In the same way, people don't understand the difference between Rishi and the Brahm Rishi. Bapuji said that Rishi resides in the subtle world and Brahm Rishi resides in the Brahmand, where there are high quality souls who go beyond to the incorporeal world. Brahm Rishis have the powers to reach the incorporeal world. Therefore, all the Rishis cannot be called Brahm Rishis. They have their own dignity and higher spiritual level. For example, Vishwamitra was not given the designation of Brahma Rishi for many births because of his ego. When Trishanku was hung between the heaven and the earth, Vishwamitra proclaimed that he would directly send him to the heaven by my own powers. He was acting against the universal law or the law of nature, and therefore he would not be designated as a Brahmrishi. Brahman is one who knows Brahma. He should have the knowledge of indestructible Brahma, that is Avinashi Brahma, and the incorporeal Brahma, that is the Nirakari Brahma. He worshipped the indestructible and the incorporeal form of God. He can directly go to the Paramdham, that is the supreme abode, and nobody can stop him. His speed is very fast and immeasurable. He worshipped Jyotirlinga and not the Shivlinga. There are a great difference between Jyotirlinga and the Shivlinga. The soul travels according to the lightness of his subtle body. First, he will meet rishis and then Brahmrishis. But the main point is that if the soul prepares well in advance before undertaking the journey into the non-physical world, it would be easier and the soul would achieve Shiv Tattva. He can then go up to Mahashiva. However, the collective and the cumulative bank account of the karmas recorded in the soul determines the speed and the destiny of the soul. When we speak anything, our voice and the words merge into the air element. In the same way, the ether element has the recording of everything. Whole ether is a supercomputer. When a saintly person does tapasya, Param Tattvas come from above and spread around him up to 50 to 100 meters. Anything that comes within that area get absorbed with the Param Tattvas, that is the superluminal elements. Air, trees, earth, all these become illuminated with the Param Tattva. Earth also contains Akash Tattva, that is the ether element, and therefore if meditates even for a short period, he will experience the invisible power of that saint or sages even after the gap of lakhs of years. That is why some places are very special. On the surface, the supreme element cannot be visible, but deep down, Param Tattvas continues to exist even after lakhs of years. When a person commits a sin or a crime, and even if he is not aware of the subsequences, he would feel bad immediately after, though the results would come out in the future. Generally, the voice of conscience tells that the person that he has done something wrong, then he would feel bad and his conscience would pinch. Even the Tamopradhan mind knows what is good and what is bad. That is why when karma is not good, the person feels bad, and when mind is not happy, the causal body, that is the Karan Sharir, becomes defective. Samrat Ashok, after the war of Kalinga, felt very unhappy seeing the masses killing off the soldiers and other innocent people. The suffering he saw changed his life. Such self-transformation happens not due to our mind, but the subtle world souls due to some karma bandhan who assist the person to think about the true aim of the life. Such souls inspire and motivate, making them aware of the higher purpose of life. First, karma bandhan or the circumstances come and make the person contemplate upon the situation, as Samrat Ashoka did after Kalinga war. Mind changes and then the situation changes. Bapuji stressed on performing good karmas. Knowledgeable souls think before they think. What I have to think. Great souls are in the thoughtless stage of mind. They lead the life of karma yogis. They search for the Almighty Authority. They are always in the connection with the Supreme Soul. They connect with the Supreme Soul and receives Param Prakash, that is the divine radiance, which purify their causal body, that is the Karan Sharir. They try to eliminate vikarma, that is the bad karmas that have accumulated during many previous births. They want to wash off the sins of previous birth. Thus, human births is very valuable. One can eliminate all the sins and the vikarmas during the human life only. There is a record of everything in the soul. Those who do good karmas join the group of souls of the same category on the same level of the subtle world. Their saintly souls guide the person for the future birth. The account of good or bad karmas determined one's birth and family. If one is born in a poor family, he may suffer more and he may remember God more while he is suffering. By remembering God, he may wash off all his sins and bad deeds. Sages and saints of the subtle world guide such souls. They say if you want to have karmatit state, you have to take birth as a blind or a handicapped person. Such sufferings will wipe out vikarmas. People stay away from the blind or the handicapped people, which unties the knots of karmbandhan quickly. Some people blame God for such miserable conditions of the life. This is quite wrong. Subtle body of a sinful soul has a deficiency and defects. In order to cover up that deficiency, guidance is given to take birth in the adversities. There are souls of the subtle world close to the physical world. When the karma bandhan comes, the soul suffers from certain serious diseases. Any subtle soul in the subtle worlds, souls can make anyone blind or diseased if it wants. Thus, the subtle souls exist alongside the human souls. They help the human souls to get rid of the karma bandhan. At the end, a soul free from the karma bandhan, which will experience the prataksh, that is the presence of the God, that is the pratakshita. Here we close this chapter of Life After Death, Part 1 for now. Hope you would have gained some unrevealed fact about the knowledge of life after death. I would request my viewers to subscribe the channel and keep watching Bapuji's video. If you like this video, give a thumbs up to the video below. For more information, you can refer Bapuji's book available on Amazon in a Kindle form and a paper book format. Our new releases are Our Alien Connection and From the Heart of the God. For more details, visit our website www.discoveryofnewworld.com. Thank you so much. Paramshanti.